I was never bullied, but I always felt like, in a sense, like I was invisible, like no one saw me. But I was not pursuing a professional career for fame. I just really, really love singing. Do it now because tomorrow's promised to no man. So I've always lived my life with that do it now kind of thing. If it's something I want to do, I'm going to do it. I want to ride in a helicopter. Go do it now. So I did it. I just kind of felt like I was different. I don't like anything wasting my time. I feel like every second of my day has purpose because time is such a precious commodity. And then before his interview, he looked at me and he said, "It's your time now." The way he looked at me and he said that, I just felt like, wow, there's something significant about that. And he passed not too long after that. Don't compromise. Do not compromise your soul for fame or fortune. It is not worth it.
On today's DocuChat, we have a lady of many talents: singer, songwriter, music producer, radio presenter, journalist, film producer, and director being among some of her skills. But before we begin, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. And now, if there was ever any one person who could describe going through difficult times from a very early age and then turning that around in later life, then my guest today is just that person. On today's DocuChat, we have the multi-talented Gina Sedman. How you doing, Gina?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you for coming down
Thank
today.
you for having me.
I want to get to it right from the very, very beginning, from when you were really young, like 4 years old, when you discovered what you could do.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that period of your life?
Yes. So basically, I just used to listen to a lot of music and sing along with it, and just singing a song that I, you know, uh, grew up listening to, and the children at school heard me sing, and they seemed to gather around me, and took me to the principal's office, and they said she can sing, and I think that's basically where my first discovery that I had something that maybe some of my other friends did not share with me.
4 years old.
Hmm.
You're just singing. It's just a fun thing.
Hmm.
Did at that particular time occur to you that, yo, maybe this could be something else, or were you too young to acknowledge that? Did
I
you have
don't.
any
Yeah.
aspirations, basically, to pursue that?
No, I did not. I didn't. I literally thought probably everybody can do the same thing. I don't even think I thought about it. I just thought I was singing along. I would hear a song and sing along with it, just like I would hear everyone else. But I do come from a family of singers, so they also sang music. So I just thought pretty much everybody sang. But it wasn't until they kind of gathered around me and kind of made such a big deal is when I kind of figured, okay, what's going on here?
You've done, what, 15 albums?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
15 albums.
Yeah, and some
So,
singles.
right,
Yeah.
singles,
Yeah. Yeah.
collaborations, features, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you were that young kid, did you ever imagine that would be the case?
No, absolutely not. I didn't think that. I just knew that as I grew older, as I started going up through school, that I just enjoy singing. And because of that, I think just certain doors began to open for me. I would say probably what you would hear from most artists, the typical doors, the talent shows. Hey, could you come sing in this talent show? Can you do this? But I was being called in by the schools to do other things. Like they would have big school functions that were away from the school, like the superintendent of the schools. They would have Christmas parties where all these adults, and I was being paid to sing, and at
Well,
a
when you
young
were 4 years
age.
old?
No, no, not at 4, but I would probably say in between 5 and 8 years old. I was literally being paid
What were
to
you getting
sing.
paid?
Oh man, I don't know at that time. It was definitely over $100.
Okay,
But my mom was keeping it.
oh, you're joking.
Yeah, no, my mom kept the money. She wouldn't let me get them, so she would charge it and she would keep it and have me out there
Let
sing.
me just kind of flip that for a second and go, if the people that were putting the events on said to you, you can have an ice cream,
Yeah.
would you have done it?
I probably would have done it without an ice cream. I think it was more or less my mom being the one to say, what are you going to pay her? Or they would say, well, we can pay her. It was kind of either one or the other.
Do you think she was protecting your interests, or
You know what? I'm not going to venture to say what was in her heart. I can tell you from a child's perspective, I was like, "Where's my money?" But you know what? But you know, when I look back, it could have been part of it that she did want to protect my interests. It could have been part of it. I was just young and I didn't know any better, and that was a way to have extra money in her pocket.
Okay,
I
so
don't know. I can't really tell
so
you.
up to this point now, many years later, have you ever received any of that money?
You know what? At one point, I did try to ask for it, but I think I come from a different generation where, you know, we were raised to be respectable for our parents. So you have to word it in a certain way
Give me my
that
fucking
you're not
money.
going to get the backhand. No, I was like, well, the money, you know, that you're keeping for me, are you going to get any of that? Kind of humbly, but then, so I think I got a little bit of it, but she wasn't really happy about giving it to me.
I guess that leads very nicely into how the family support was for you when
Yeah.
you were doing your music. Because, like, I understand, obviously, you're so young that they think maybe it's a phase. It's not really what you want to go into. You go and be a doctor or whatever else. And then at some point, you decided this, I'm enjoying this. I want to
Hmm.
pursue this. Did you get the support from the family, or was it more from friends and people like that?
Right. Well, when I was younger, I would say that I got support from both my mom and my dad. I think my dad, on one aspect, the support that he was giving me was a different kind of support. It was more, well, I see that you have this talent, and I believe in you, and I want to see you do something great with it. I kind of had a feeling more so, although, like I said, I can't judge the heart of anyone, but I kind of felt a little more so that my mom was kind of pushing me because of, possibly maybe it could turn into, me making a lot of money, and then that her life would change as well. That's what it kind of felt on the other aspect. So when you say support, it's a broad word, yes, there was support, but sometimes you have people that support you for the right reasons and you have people that support you for another reason. So that's what it kind of felt like, although I cannot judge anyone's heart, you know. So it may not be, but that's what it felt like for me.
Over the last few years, my partner sits there and watches like programs like, dancing
Hmm.
competitions and all kinds of stuff where
Hmm.
this is all American stuff,
Yeah.
where they'll do, I don't know, pom pom dancing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I watch any snippets of those shows, I don't watch those shows, just so you know, I'm too cool for that. I'm into hip hop.
Yeah.
Right? But when I'm sitting there having something to eat
Yes.
and it's just on the telly and whatever, I see certain things. It's like the mothers
Hmm.
are almost doing it. It looks like they're doing it because they failed at it
Yeah.
and they've pushed their daughters into
Yeah.
this now.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So it's
Yes.
almost like they want their daughters to
Hmm.
succeed so they can feel what success felt
Right.
like.
Yes,
Is
absolutely.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and like I said, I come from that generation of respect, so I don't want to be I never ever want to be disrespectful to my mom. She's the woman that raised me. But I do feel, just in retrospect, the way it was kind of being pushed. I think there was some times that I felt like I wanted to be just a child, and I just kind of felt like I was being pushed a little bit on that end. My dad was more, had me singing in church, and I think he wanted to make sure that he supported me in a different kind of way. I didn't feel like he was trying to push me to make money off of me. It just kind of felt like he saw my gift and he wanted to kind of encourage me and support me in that gift.
What was your dad's career?
Well, my dad was a pastor, but his what he came from was he was a truck driver. He also sold coffee for a company out of America called IHOP, International House of Pancakes. So he sold coffee during that time, and he was also a truck driver. So, but then he became a pastor as well.
When you were in the church, I guess at some point you must have been in a choir.
No. Well, okay. Let me not say no because when I got older, I was in a choir for a hot minute. But no, I was actually, my dad would get me up and he would just have me sing. He had this old cassette big boom box that would sit on the floor, and it had this wired microphone, you know, with these two cassette things. And he would just take me and buy this background accompaniment tape and click it in there. And he would call me up, and I had to do the walk of shame to go to the stage.
Walk of shame.
Yeah, for me, it felt like a walk of shame. I mean, not that the message was a walk of shame. It was just that me being young and my sisters and my friends were there. I didn't want to feel like I was singled out.
Why would you feel that way?
I think it's just always been my heart. I've always been a person that really cared about not wanting other people to feel less than.
So
I've
you
always been like that.
okay.
Yeah,
So you felt like because people saw a certain talent in you that they were looking at you different to your sisters and your
yeah,
friends, and that
yeah.
made you uncomfortable.
I didn't want my sisters or my friends to feel like I was better than they were, because I didn't feel that, and I didn't want to invoke any kind of feeling about them. I just wanted to be equal with them. And I felt that when he brought me up there, although he was proud of me and he wanted to see something, it just made me feel like I was going to suffer backlash as a result.
Let's look at that in a slightly different way now.
Hmm.
So imagine you'd been, I guess, loosely using the word selfish,
Hmm.
and because obviously you weren't that, right? But if we use the word like selfish and say you just went, I've got this talent, everyone's paying attention to me, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to focus on the singing. Do you think you could have been in the position of, say, somebody like a Beyonce if you did that?
No.
And that do you think, do you think
No.
also that
Hmm.
by you giving a shit about everybody else, you kind of held yourself back?
No. No. I just feel that I well, I mean, there's a lot of factors when you talk about in the natural world that play into, they go into play. I think at one time when I was in high school in my early 20s, I was pursuing a professional career, but I was not pursuing a professional career for fame. I just really, really love singing. I didn't really care about the fame, but I think that I believe that it just was not God's will for my life during that time. I think a lot of times people say, "Oh, I didn't make it, and if I would have done this," and I just don't believe that. I believe that your journey is what your journey is, and I think some people are destined to be in this location, and other people are destined to be in another location. I think if we're all in one, if everyone is on this side, then things are off balance. We have to have some over here and some over here in order to keep the balances straight, right? So if everyone is on the top, then who's going to love the people that are on the bottom? And maybe it was that God just wanted me to reach out to the community. I think that the community are people that need to be loved, just like people that can afford to pay tickets to see, $100, $200 tickets to go see major artists. But there are people that also, after a hard day, they want to hear music. And they may not have that kind of money, but who's going to be there to hug on them and love on them and sing for them and share your talent? So I feel that it just was not, thus far, it's just not what God had for me. But I believe that there were so many more wonderful blessings that were in my life where I was able to be available for other people.
You never chased the money. That's
No,
obvious.
no,
Okay.
no.
But why actually physically put out 15 albums when you
Right,
could have just done it for the love of it, recorded
right,
and just let your friends hear it? Because
right.
it's obvious you didn't want the fame or the glory or the money.
Right. Well, I put it out because that's who I am. I love singing, and that's who God made me. If I believe because I have a voice or whatever talents that I have, I think that no matter what, I believe that many people have many talents. They're maybe not always explored or recognized or horned, but I believe that a lot of us have many talents, and I think that you are responsible for using them. But I think it's God's responsibility for elevating you. You understand? If you're sitting back and you're doing nothing with them, then I think that that's a waste, because I think that everybody should do something in this world with the talent that you have. So by me making music, I did it because I love doing it. And I put it out because I do want people to hear what I'm saying, and we're musicians, we're singers. That's how we express. It's almost like my hand is a part of my music is a part of my body. You cannot separate it. It's my voice is a part of who I am. So for me to make music, it's just what I do. But it's up for God to bring if He wants to put me here, He will. If He wants to put me there, He will. But wherever I've been in life, I've always just tried to say, how can I make this particular place? What can I do in this? What is my purpose here? And that's how I've just lived my life.
You think a lot of that comes from the way you were brought up? Because I recall you saying to me about being from a broken family. So you must have experienced some hardships that in the intro I said that you managed to turn your life around in later life. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the hardships that turned you into who you are now.
Absolutely. Well, first, I want to say that your character is who your character is. We're born into this world, who we are. So who I am is who I am. But my experiences, obviously my character and my experience collided together. That that made me the woman that I am. But growing up, like many people, I did come from a broken home around 8 years old. My life dramatically changed. We went from home, from place to place. I went to 14 different schools growing up. We moved like 9 times. There were times that we were homeless, where we had to live out of what we call an old camper. When I see campers, it still triggers me. The trucks with the old camper shells. But we experienced that for my dad and my mom. When they went through the divorce, it was like there was a point my dad was in a camper, and so we were all around the place. And I think I was always a new girl, always a new girl. We're going to a school, and all these kids that grew up together, they were cliques, and so and honestly, I can say I was never bullied. I was never bullied, but I always felt like, in a sense, like I was invisible, like no one saw me. And so I kind of got to the point where I was like, I'm not going to try to make myself fit in, because I don't want to try to make people accept me, because it's painful to make people try to accept me. I'm just going to go over here and try to find out how I can entertain myself. And that's where I really started honing those creative talents. And I think that was a good thing, because I think even in those negative circumstances, how I turned it into something good was it turned into me becoming an entrepreneur. It turned into me being a person and saying, okay, well, I'm not waiting for somebody to accept me or to support me or to do all these things for me to be able to use these talents. If someone comes along while while I'm plowing along, great. But if they don't come along, it's not going to stop me from moving forward in the dreams and the vision. So I'll create those things on my own, and I've done that. Not waiting for people to do it, and gotten a lot of work done by not having a whole lot of people around me, because when you're in those quiet spaces, it's just not a lot of distractions. So you can get a whole lot done, which is wonderful, in a sense. But then, what you miss out on is a lot of times you miss out on those long friendships and that support. And it may not even be the support always buying a record or anything. It just may be the people that understand where you're coming from, and your highs and lows and where you're trying to achieve. Just those people to sit down with you and talk to you about it. That kind of support sometimes was not always there.
It sounds to me like you're one of the people that has kind of been through that ugly duckling scenario,
Yeah.
right? Where if I go back to what you said about the playground,
Yes.
sorry, not necessarily the playground, but where you have people here and you took yourself over there. Because in later life, you managed to turn it around where all those people that were over there, bit by bit, were coming to where you were. So you didn't need to chase them. They began chasing you. So if we just lightly, for now, touch on your radio presenting, for example, or your magazines, you've done tons of interviews with so many different people. And I'm going to say right now, I'm envious of one of those people you interviewed. Yeah?
Okay. Who was that?
Guess.
I don't know.
Guess. Hip hop.
Dougie Fresh.
There you go.
Okay.
Doug E. Fresh. Do you know what I would do to have an opportunity to interview Dougie Fresh? He was one of my biggest
Yeah.
inspirations
He's
right from the
amazing.
get-go.
Yeah, wonderful
What,
guy.
yeah, amazing. So, you know, to be able to be that person that was trying to find your space and whatever, then to be able to get interviews with people like Dougie Fresh, what does that say about you? You know, the loner,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because you sound to me like you were a loner a bit like myself.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Still am.
But don't you think in some
Yeah,
ways being a
yeah,
loner is actually
yeah,
beneficial
yeah,
because it gives you
yeah.
so much time and space
Yes,
to focus on the things that you
absolutely,
want to be. While all the other
absolutely.
people are trying difficult to fit in, you're trying to fit out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, it is beautiful. I think the only time that it really hit me like a ton of bricks because I'm definitely. I would say I'm definitely a workaholic, and because when you're a loner, you're doing so much, and I think you get so thrown into that world where you can't get out of that. And I think during the time when the world shut down around 2020, I found myself at that point really realizing that, wow, you know, now I kind of want somebody there, but it wasn't a lot of people around because I was so into my own creative space or just working hard on all these different projects where when everyone's saying, hey, you want to go here, you want to do that, I was always busy working. And when everything slowed down, I found that, wow, I was really, there was silence around me. There was a woodpecker outside on the thing, and I was like, oh, how cool is that? I've never seen a woodpecker, but I think that's kind of when it came to bite me a little bit.
The time when you start realizing what you got. So you became a hustler.
Yeah, yeah. So I started off basically, I got signed when I was a lot younger. I ended up getting signed to a gospel label, and that was back in 1996. And a few years later, the label folded. So I just remember what that felt like. I said, I'll never again let my dreams be in someone else's hands. So I remember getting my income tax. I took my income tax and went over to, we have a place in America that sells, all the guitars and all the kind of stuff like that. And I went in there, I said, look, just buy me everything I need to learn how to produce. So they gave me this big Korg and these two speakers that I actually still have right now. And I had this BR8, digital mixer, and I didn't know with the zip disc, and I didn't know to do with it, and it sounded horrible, honestly. But I took a step, and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to produce music, and I'm gonna do my own. And basically from there, I started producing my own music, and 2015 opened up a film company, and then I ended up doing that in the community, and then from there, I opened up GNA Universal Media, and I incorporated, a radio station, television station, a film company, and my record company, and the magazine, the Indie Pulse magazine. So then my husband came and took over Indie Soul Radio, and he's done an amazing job with it because that's his thing. I just wanted a radio station, and I built the platform, but he's the one that built the radio station to become what it is today, not me.
Earlier you said something about like you moved 14 times. And you've actually experienced
Went to 14 different schools, moved
14
nine
different
different
schools.
times. Yeah.
Okay, so right. So but in that time, you act like a lot of people, like I see people talking about the hood and they don't live in the hood. I see a lot of them kind of things where people are always talking about things they haven't really experienced. But you actually experienced all of that stuff and you were living
Yeah.
in the heart of the hood.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I'm from the hood.
Right. So do you want to explain what was going on in the hood that
Yeah.
and how that inspired you to change your life?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, when I was young, I lived. We were considered, I would say, middle class. We lived in Inglewood, but as I think I would say maybe around the time I was around seven-ish, it was a lot of gangs in our community that we live in, and so you would see gang fights and they would tell you to stay inside of the house because this gang was fighting that gang. So it was a Crips against the Bloods and stuff like that. And I think that when you're young and you're growing up into it, you don't understand that you're in the hood. It's just that was just my life. Just like anyone that would grow up in your community, it's just a part of your life. And as you get older and life slows down and you don't want the drama anymore, then you can look back and say, "Wow, that was crazy. I don't want to go, but that's bad." but we moved around a lot within the LA area, Inglewood. So living in central LA, going to rough schools and just trying to navigate. But I think it was something about me that I feel like either you're going to be a part of your environment or you're going to see it and you're going to have disdain for it. That's just like growing up in a home, with parents. You can have an abusive parent, and either that guy can say, I'm going to be another abuser, or I hate that. And I was that one that says, I hate that. I saw things, I saw drugs, I saw, women being very, you know, just not ladylike or all kind of crazy stuff. And it was just something in me says, that's not going to be me. I didn't want to be it. I just felt like there was something different about me. Like you said, the ugly duckling syndrome. I just kind of felt like I was different. Like I had this vision to get out. And we have friends that were in the community that moved out to a suburban area called Diamond Bar. It was about an hour and a half from Los Angeles. And we went to go visit them. And they had this big house with a pool upstairs and downstairs. And we, in LA, we had mostly like 1-story homes. And it was so pretty around there. And I was like, wow. And I'll never forget because I saw it. I was like, when I get older, I'm getting out of here and I'm going to do better. I wanted to get out of all that oppression. And I just felt like I didn't know that it was there until I saw it.
You were someone who was actually there. Do you see that the problems that were there were caused by the country's situation, the government and stuff, or was it self-inflicted in some ways? I just want to know from someone who was there.
Yeah, I don't, you know what? I don't know because I don't know why. I didn't know why. You know what I'm saying? Being young, you don't know why. You
But
just
now
growing
you're
up.
older and you look back, do you know why?
Um, I think it's different for everybody. Everybody's circumstances. For me, I was not raised by hood parents. My parents were very intelligent. It was after the divorce because of the circumstance. My mom uh, had to, she had 4 girls. It was rough. It was hard for her. So, and then she had some other problems. So I think it's just different. I think everybody that's there are there for different reasons. I think some people don't want to do anything with their life. I think that some people are slothful with their life and are just wanting to be there. But I do believe that everyone can make a decision to do better, whatever better is for them. It may not even be coming out of extreme poverty, but you can even be in that and say, I want to do a little bit better. You can work a game plan out in your life. So, me coming from that, you can do better, because we were poor, if not when we were young, but as we started getting older, our lives went to poverty. And I could have been a victim of that and said, oh, well, I'm in the hood. This is what I am. I'm going to have just a bunch of children and just do nothing and have different, fathers all over the place or whatever. But for me, I wanted to do better. And I think there's a lot of people that came from my circumstances that have done better in their lives. So, everyone is different. I can't judge where someone else is in their mind, but I know that you can do better. There are definitely circumstances and situations that happen externally in our world that can make people in the point financially when they're trying to get above, with inflation and different prices and make it hard and difficult for people to have a better life. That's definitely, I understand that. But I think that if you really want a better life, I think that if you really strive hard, you can make things better for yourself.
It's on you.
It's on you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's on you.
absolutely.
As much as you believe in God and everything, like you said,
Yeah.
I was brought up with the understanding that God helps the man who helps himself. So
Yeah.
like if you're not going to do anything, nothing will happen.
Yeah, you can't just sit down and you can pray and say, God, I need a job. But if you just sit down eating bonbons all day and popcorn and watching TV, it's not going to be like somebody's going to say, hey, the job is on your door. You have to just kind of go out and put applications, and whatever God's will and whatever door is supposed to open will open at that time. But you have to put yourself in motion. It's not going to just come by just sitting there being slothful.
So that explains why I've never had a job then. Were you ever conscious of wearing red or blue in
We
the
were
neighborhood?
we were not allowed in the neighborhood to wear red, blue, or wear Raiders type of things, or things that have to do with like games, game hats,
So how did you know you were not allowed? Did
because we
someone
were
ever?
told in school.
Okay.
Yeah, when you go to school, that's just, it's a part of what the teacher tells you when you first come in. You get your little packet with all the bylaws and stuff. Parents are instructed to not let their children wear red or blue. That was just a
And
part of
Raiders
life.
caps or Raiders
Yeah,
outfits.
we grew up like that from childhood on up, so it was
Is that
nothing.
still going on, you reckon?
I have no idea. I moved out. Yeah, I really don't know. I don't know. But I know when I was there, I was raised. I grew up, for the most part, born in Chicago. 2 years old, about around 2 years old, we moved to California.
So,
So I
so
was raised in Los Angeles.
okay.
Born.
So let's say you go to a place where you're not
Hmm.
allowed to wear red, but you're wearing red.
Hmm.
What's the likelihood of you getting killed?
I don't know because I would just not do it. I'm sure people have gotten killed over colors. Absolutely. I mean that's was what was going on when I was growing up. I mean you had gang violence, so I'm sure people being in the wrong neighborhoods wearing the wrong colors. I don't think that they would always be well greeted. I wasn't gonna wear certain colors that I was just you learn how to survive in those environments, and that's how you pretty much survive. Although you can not wear those and just be in an environment, just going to school, there's children that get shot just from gang violence and bullets and different things like that happen. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, but by the grace of God it didn't happen to me, but I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot, maybe more than I should have seen at my age. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of pain. So I think for me, when I hear people say things, well, why don't this and why don't that? I kind of have two ways that I look at it. There's one thing of compassion because I understand that there's a lot of brokenness in a lot of our urban communities um, and it's a lot of great people. Sometimes some of the most love and supportive people are in disadvantaged communities, coming together, sharing food. Those stories are not told, but there are some beautiful stories. You have that one person, you might have that grandma that's fixing food for everybody, and the community is coming together, and so the community does come together in many ways. Yeah, there is this negative aspect, but then there's the beauty of not being wealthy, right? Just the down to earthness of it, and just you can go back into those communities for those who grew up in there, and you will still be loved. It doesn't matter if you became this huge celebrity; they're gonna still love you, and it's just gonna be like, hey, come on in our house, and you're gonna sit on that couch with the plastic still on there, and it's they're still authentic, people.
I think it's a real shame that the world has turned. It was always this, but
Hmm.
it's more obvious now because of social media
Hmm.
that the world is that place where they focus on bringing more negative nonsense to your
Hmm.
attention
Hmm.
rather than all these positive things
Hmm.
that go on that could
Exactly.
actually encourage more people to be positive because they see it happening.
Yeah, it's really bad.
You were a child of the
Yeah.
civil rights movement.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, my parents, my mom had a drink out of a fountain, that said for blacks only, when she was young, and she shared those stories. She shared stories of my grandmother that worked in a home, as a maid. So, those stories were passed down, to that generation. So I was that generation that our parents fought for us to have that freedom. So growing up in integrated schools, in Los Angeles, we were raised up with everyone. It wasn't for me. I don't remember it being a black and white issue as a child. It was just rich and poor. We had all races in Los Angeles and Inglewood. There were everybody. I remember seeing so many different cultures represented, there. Of course, they were second generation, but they were there. And we all just grew up together, eating each other's food, enjoying one another, enjoying each other's cultures, and we just all were broke. That's what we all had in common, but just my mom did share the stories, the things that she had to experience.
There was a point where I believe if you had an afro, you couldn't even get a job.
Well, I know just recently, and I'm not sure what part, if it was the whole America, so don't quote me on it. I saw something on the news or saying that now, people of color are allowed to wear their hair in corporate America, you know, it, with braids or, with their natural hair or be in school. But I know that when I was young, I do remember that in our schools, we were not allowed to wear our hair a certain way. It had to be kind of, you know, it had to be, you know, acceptable. And when you get a job in corporate America, um, you are expected to look corporate, and whatever corporate is, whatever corporate is, that's what you're expected to look like. And because the laws had passed that you're not supposed to, there was not supposed to be racism on jobs, um, you're not going to be told outright, you just won't get the job. I think for me, I would rather someone literally tell me so I would know. I think that's easier to know for a fact than for you to just, oh, okay, all right, thank you for your application. And then you're just not getting hired, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe I need to go and, change my hair, straighten my hair, um, damage my hair, put a relaxer on there or press it. And, so that I can be able to utilize the degree that I have. I was blessed that I've been an entrepreneur for the most of my life. So I didn't really have to. There were times that I did get work, but I didn't have to enter basically, too much into corporate America, to have to experience that. So
And I guess fashion also, because like
yeah.
your fashion
Hmm.
sense would be different to. There was a point where it was
Hmm.
obvious where, I don't know, say someone from Romania was wearing a certain fashion, someone from Los Angeles was wearing, and then as
Hmm.
time has gone on, it's become very similar now.
Hmm.
But back then, the fashion,
Hmm.
I guess, would make it obvious what your background and your heritage is.
Hmm. Hmm.
So was that a problem?
For me, I've always had my own individual style. I've never really focused on, trying to look a certain way to be accepted. I've always loved the 70s. So I've kind of always done my thing. So if they say we have to dress up, I'm like, okay, great. I'll find me some bell bottoms that are dressy. you know. But I'm sure that probably if I was, I'm thinking if I was to go into corporate America, maybe bell bottoms would not be the corporate look. you know, I mean, I guess in one way I understand that there are certain things like if you go into school, they have uniforms. And if everybody's wearing a uniform and someone comes in there with jeans and a hoodie, they're going to say no, they have to wear the uniforms because everybody has to be in school. So it's like, is that racist? No, it's not racist. It's just everybody's wearing uniforms and you have to wear uniforms. So I think it all depends on the circumstance. There are circumstances where there is, racism. And there are circumstances where it's just a protocol that everybody has to do it. Everybody has to dress corporate, any race. No one can come in there with blue jeans unless it's on Friday, unless it says jean, casual day at work. So I think it just all a lot of the situations and circumstances are different depending on where you go. I'll just put it that way.
Moving on to the music career.
Uh-huh.
30 years, 15 albums, loads of singles, loads of
Yeah.
collaborations, features. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. You know what? I've had a really, really when I really look back, I feel that I've had a wonderful career in entertainment. It's been wonderful. Um, I don't. Yes, I haven't as of this point. I have not made it to a level as maybe you would say like an A-lister or what would be considered an A-lister. That
But
definitely
that was
hasn't
never your
happened.
mission.
But that was not my mission. And I've always been a person that I love a lot of different things. I wanted to like things will pop up in my head, and I'm like, man, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to do this. Oh, it'll be cool to, be a filmmaker. It'll be cool to do this. And I just feel like I feel like life is an experience. And I just wanted to experience life because I understand one thing that life is so fragile and is so, you cannot predict what will happen from one moment to the next. And I was like, Any of us, I don't care how kind you are to people. You could be the kindest, most loving person, or you could be the most evil and hateful person on the face of this earth. I think good and bad things happen to good and bad people. Why? Because we live in a world where it's just things happen. People lose jobs, people get sick, people get cancer, all sorts of things. So I kind of felt like I'm not special. I'm no different than anybody else. It doesn't matter how kind I am or whatever. So, or if I'm not kind, it doesn't matter. Anything can happen to me. Not being negative, but I understand the reality that life happens to everybody. And if something happens to me, if I'm that girl, if I wake up one day and say, "Oh, what's that? What's that not?" Or if I get that news, will I have regret? Every day you live, I tell people you live your bucket list. Everyone says, "Oh, one of these days on my bucket list." I said, "Do it now." Do it now, because tomorrow's promised to no man. So I've always lived my life with that do it now kind of thing. If it's something I want to do, I'm going to do it. I want to ride in a helicopter. Go do it now. So I did it. And so I think I've done so many things where I didn't focus on specifically one thing. But do I regret it? No, because I experienced life and I'm happy. I've done a lot of things. So if I was to get that news tomorrow, I would be able to lay back in the bed and say, "You had a good run." You had a good run. You experienced a lot of life and you were able to meet a lot of people in a lot of different industries, a lot of careers, and experience working with actors and going behind the camera, experience working with people in the film industry, or the music industry, or you've been on this side, a musician, and then you sing and you've been with people and all sorts of things.
A minute ago, I mentioned 15 albums. I mean, how many artists get to do that? Even a lot of the artists that have got record labels behind them and all that, they don't do that.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
But you've managed to do it.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's carried you on isn't money, isn't any of that stuff. It's just the fact that you just want to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
So-
you can't do it. You can't do it when people say, "Well, how do you do all the things?" You can't do it talking on the phone all day. You can't do it always running and ripping and running, going in everywhere. You can't do it being on social media all day. You can't do that. You've got to make a choice in life. If it's something that you want to do, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to pull, because everybody's busy these days. Everybody's busy.
Doing
But you're
nothing.
going to, right, you're going to have to borrow time from somewhere in order to do those things. So it is a price. Everything costs something. It might cost you friends. It might cost you a couple of hanging out or doing this or doing that. But what price are you willing to pay to experience life? The fullness of what your purpose is. It's your choice. I hate things that don't have purpose. I don't like to waste my time. I'm a very focused individual. Whatever I'm doing that 100%. I don't, somebody can say, "No, no, no." I'm like, "Okay." And I'm right back there again. I don't like anything wasting my time. I feel like every second of my day has purpose, because time is such a precious commodity.
When was that eureka moment where you just went, "I'm going to make an album"?
Well, it first started, like I said, back in 1996. That's when it first, and I was like where I was at. Oh, this, I want to do this. I'm going to be an artist. That was where I was at that time when I was in my early 20s, And then when that label folded, after I got signed and that label folded and I went independent, I like the fact that I think it was more so I can write something and I can create something that's never been created before. This piece of music, this thing, this art. And to me, that's like amazing. And not just myself, but anybody that can take something and create something. We're sitting in these chairs because somebody made them. But if you can make your own chair and you can look back and say, "Wow, that was an idea that God gave me that I actually materialized." I mean, how awesome is that? You know what I'm saying? That's when making an album for me, that's what it's all about. It's like creating something new, a new piece of something that is yours uniquely, that came from you. It's just, you're an artist. It comes from you.
So many times, if I speak to a woman and I go, "What's your ambitions in life?" And some of them, not all, some of them would say, "I want to have 3 kids." Like, instead of like the children's situation or whatever, having kids and all that, did you at any point go, "Right, I'm going to make 700 albums"?
No. No,
I'm
first of all,
wondering
first
because
of all, I would say that's beautiful for someone to know what they want to do, whether it's, I think it's an honor to be a wife and to be a mother, but I also think it's an honor to go out and pursue your career, you
on
know?
that note, I'm going to be a wife and a mother.
Yeah, I never did set out for that. I never did set out for that. I think that it just happened and I loved what I did. And then I started doing it. But I think where things in 2015 came to a turn for me is because I felt like my life was going in a circle and I don't like going in a circle. I have to, every year, I need to add something on different on my life. And that's what it was for me. I was like, okay, I'm bored. I'm doing the same thing over and over. I don't want to, I feel like I'm getting stuck in a cul-de-sac. I want to, what else is there in me? And that's where the film came. That's where filmmaking came.
You were in the situation with the gospel band,
Uh huh.
and you were signed.
Uh huh.
So tell us what happened there.
Yeah, well, when I was in my early 20s, I attended a church. It was in a city called Pomona, California. And I met some guys there. And for a split minute, I got in a choir, but I just kind of felt like there was, everybody was complaining about this and that. And I don't do complaints. I'm just like, if they said it, just do it. If you can't do it, then just don't be it. So I was like, I'm done with this. But, I like to live the chilled life. I met them and they heard me sing in the short, I guess, week or two that I was in the choir. They heard me sing and they said, "Hey, we're signed on. We just got signed and we're needing a female singer. They were a Christian rap artist and we're needing a female singer." And I'm like, "Sure, why not? That'll be fun." So I sang with them and based off of that. The guy that owned the label because they were Christian rappers, and he started another label called Brownstone Records, specifically for me, which was more of a R&B style, more like a Mary Mary type of style of Christian music. So he signed me on there, and that's how that ended up happening. Yeah, but I first got my start out being, one of those, singers that you guys use on hip hop music, the background singers. Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I got a chance to travel with them, and they became like brothers to me. It was really good.
Basically, hip hop in church.
Hmm.
Um, I got no issues with hip hop in church,
Hmm.
but recently somebody sent a video to me
Hmm.
where they were showing some dancing and some of the stuff that
Hmm.
goes on in
Hmm.
Christian churches,
Hmm.
and I think it's disturbing.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree.
What do you make of it?
I agree. I agree. I don't agree with everything that's going on. It's not the way I believe. Um,
And you're
uh,
religious,
I'm a
but you believe in
Christian.
God.
I'm a Christian person, but I don't consider myself religious. I have a relationship with Christ. So to me, that's different. It's a daily walk. I'm a Bible believing Christian. So I believe that a lot of the things that you see going on are not what I believe according to what the Bible, that is not going according to what the Bible says. And I think that people can say anything, but it's what you do tells you what they are. I'm more of a person that watches people, their actions. You can tell me anything. You could say, "Oh, Gina, I'm a giraffe," and I can look at you and see that you're not a giraffe. So I'm going to go by your actions and what I see. So, although it grieves my heart because I think that people's lives can be changed and I think because of the fact that some people are misrepresenting what it is to be a Christian, that really hurts my heart because it makes people when I say I'm a Christian, it makes people say, "Oh, you Christians," and it's like, no, you got to learn how to separate what you see people saying, or they're saying, "I'm a Christian, I'm in church," than your relationship with Christ, because that is not who Christ is. You know, that's not anything about who I know the God in the Bible to be, of what you're seeing, this representation on YouTube and all this foolishness going on today. Is foolishness. It's not the representation.
So would you
So
say the devil's at play here?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's to kind of make people feel like it's a bad thing, to follow Christ, but it's not. It's a bad thing to do certain things that I'm seeing certain people do that is not representing Christ. And unfortunately, you have a lot of people that focus on human beings and idolize human beings or pastors or people instead of focusing on God, the God of the Bible. So I would tell people in that circumstances, read your Bible. get to know the Lord, get to have a relationship with Christ, and the Jesus that died for you and gave his life for you on the cross. That's the one. That's the love. That's the God that I serve. That Christ. Um, the one that you see everyone else showing you and all this craziness and twerking going on in church and all that. I don't know what that is, but that is not Christianity at all. There may be a claim of Christianity, but it is not Christianity, and that's just the way that I view it. But, you know, I pray that they will will wake up and turn around, because I think a lot of people are watching that, and it breaks my heart that people are thinking that that's the direction. But there are also a lot of people that are not going in that direction. And I want people to look at, there are a lot of loving people. There are a lot of loving pastors. There are a lot of good people that are Christians that are doing good things around the world and that are not like that, that love and embrace people. And I think that we have to also give a balanced view. Like you said, the media will portray one thing, in one way, but there's always another side. And a lot of people don't want to look at that side of things, but there's two sides. So I would say look at the other side as well.
You set up an awards in relation with the music and everything that you were doing. When did that start? What was the reason for it?
Yeah, so I started an award show for the films when I was at Palm Springs, but with the music, I won a few awards. I won one in Las Vegas, and it was for a gospel project that I did. And then I also won another one, actually from the UK. It was a radio station out here, and they sponsored it, and I won that one. Yeah, so that was wonderful. It was fun.
Have you got any projects people need to look out for with regards to music at the moment?
I have a new single coming out on September 13th called Smile. And it's a beautiful, beautiful song, and that encourages the world to smile. And then on November the 15th, I have a new album coming out called Valuable People. It's wonderful. So, yeah.
Your movie career.
Yeah.
So you've done filmmaking, you've set up awards, you've done a lot.
Yeah.
Do you want to just kind of go like a quick summary on the things that you've done, the moments that you've been proud of,
Yeah.
things that have
Absolutely.
changed other people's lives even?
Yeah, so I think out of everything, one of the moments that I've been proud of, I think, is to be able to be a role model to people that may be in their middle age, that are thinking, oh, I didn't get a chance to start when I was young because I started a family. I think out of all the film thing, what I would say will be that I'm the most proud about is to show people that, hey, you can do something. You can start your life all over again, even in your middle age. I was blessed to have the opportunity within the Coachella Valley. They embraced me as far as a filmmaker. I've written, produced, and directed, probably around 14 to 15, films, some features, some shorts, and work with the community. A lot of actors that were maybe in theater, or some that never had an opportunity at all.
And you shoot music videos as well, and you've done quite a
Yes.
lot of your own stuff.
Yeah, so I have done music videos, some editing, and I've worked with artists, actually Cornell Carter and Joe Levy. I've worked with them, have produced, put together some music videos for them. And also another, actually the first guy that I started off, the gospel rap artist, he calls himself Preach Dog. So actually, he did a song, and I was able to film him as well not too long ago. So that was fun to have that be reunited back with him again, as we're a little bit more retro or vintage, I would call it. Yeah.
One thing that strikes me is like so many people in the world today kind of judge everything by the success levels. But my take on everything is like, why is that so important when you can just keep things moving and bring a substantial amount of income through what you're doing just by staying humble, doing what you enjoy, and bringing, like, why does anyone need 1 million fans?
Right. Absolutely.
You could survive on 1,000.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Is
Yeah.
that kind of the way you're working?
Yeah, well, you know what? The things that I've always done have been more charitable and community based. I've been told by many people, they say you should just become a nonprofit, because most of the things that I've done, I would say the majority of the things that I've done within the community, with film and writing and all those things, have been mostly charitable, just to try to help others. And
How are you funding all that?
I work.
Okay. So basically, you work to bring
Yeah,
the money in to
yeah.
then
I was
give it back to the
yeah,
community.
being a working musician. When I was in America, I was a musician. I was working, gigging, and also I owned my own hair business. So that's how I funded my film career and um, and everything else that I was pretty much doing. You know.
I just want to say something because you told me something on the
Uh-huh.
phone the other day. Did you hear that? She owns her own hair business.
Yeah.
All you people, they used to go up to her and touch her afro and go, "Can I touch that afro?" Do you want to tell that story quick?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, the afro. What? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Well, when I was in Palm Springs, they would come in because I had this huge, bodacious afro. I just love big hair. And so I had this afro. Everywhere I would go, people would just always want to touch it. Just, oh, can I? And sometimes they wouldn't even ask me. They just grab a whole handful of it. And I'm, by nature, I'm very, OCD. I'm a germaphobe, but that goes with being a recluse, right?
Yeah.
We're kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm that guy that keeps going.
We're weird, right? We're kind of bizarre.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and so I kind of felt like, oh wow, I don't like people touching my hair because I see a lot of people rubbing their nose and stuff like that. So I could just only imagine what's on their hands. But it is a violation of your space, and I just kind of always felt like, well, why can't we just all be just different? I'm not going up to anyone else and grabbing your hair. Yeah, so you got a lot of that.
What can you tell us about the journalism side and the radio presenting? Because you're
Yeah.
still active with all of that.
Yeah, so basically, I was I wouldn't consider myself a real radio presenter in the sense. I'm not gonna even take that credit. I did a few shows just because I wanted to do it. It was one of those kind of things that popped in my mind and say, I got to do this. This has to be in my experience in life. And so I did a gospel show, but no way like what my husband do. I just don't have the patience to do it. It's not something that I love doing. It's just something that I did. So that was that. And what was the other thing?
Journalism.
Journalism. So I'm still doing that. I'm still doing that. I own a magazine called the Indie Post magazine, and I've just been blessed to meet so many amazing artists and build very close relationships with just so many wonderful publicists. A few that I would just love to mention because they've been a blessing in my life. Miriam Graham, Desiree Benson, Ron Linford, Tom Estee. Some of them, they have just been absolutely amazing. And you don't get there by yourself. I think that God blesses you through people. And so I thank the Lord for putting on their hearts to say, hey, here's someone that can interview you. This somebody has a great magazine. But then I had to put the hard work in there, right, and do the interviews and work and get it going. But it has been a blessing meeting so many wonderful artists, publicists, independent artists. Because my heart's for the independent artists. So it's just been a wonderful journey, and it continues to be a wonderful journey.
And all the content that you're creating and everything, is that in a physical magazine?
Yes.
What's the most memorable interview you've done?
Oh wow, there's so many, but I would say Lou Gossett Jr.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. That one was wow. I'll never forget it, and he passed not too long after that. But I would say that was the most.
What made it memorable?
What he said to me um, before we ended the interview, and just all of the things because you're talking about history. He's lived a long time, and he's been in this industry a long time, and he's seen the changes in the industry. He experienced things, being a black man in the business way back when racial tension was high, all the way up to today when things were different. And he told me stories about Miles Davis and Cicely Tyson and Martin Luther King. I mean, come on. And then before his interview, he looked at me. He said, "It's your time now." And I said, "What?" He goes, "It's your time now." Whatever that means. I still feel like that's going to mean something in my life. The way he looked at me and he said that, I just felt like, wow, there's something significant about that. And he passed not too long after that. And to be able to Zoom with him face to face and to talk with such a talented man that has lived so much life, I love people that are older. A lot of my friends are older because I feel like I am so attracted to wisdom that attracts me.
When I was living in New Cross, I used to come out of my flat all the time, turn right, go towards Goldsmiths College, to go around and catch a bus. And there was this Jamaican guy that used to sit outside his flat. There was a block of flats there. He always sat there in this folding chair and whatever. And one day he called me over, said he saw something different in me, didn't know what it was. And we got talking, and he said something to me. Like, we sat down and we spoke. I sat on the grass and he was there, and we spoke for probably half hour, whatever it was. But he said something to me that I've never forgotten. He goes, you know, the beauty of getting old is that you get to repent of all your sins, and you get to pass that information that you learned to youngsters like you who are willing to learn.
That's beautiful.
And I took that on board.
Wow.
And I've never forgotten it.
Wow, it's beautiful. Yeah.
And not too long after that, he passed.
Wow.
So it makes me wonder, from what you're saying, if they know
Yeah.
and they feel like, you know what, just let go, give it on.
Yeah.
Pass this information on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I get things, the reason why I said a lot of them, because I get things from people who are just virtually unknown. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter. I think I like to ask everyone at the end of the interview, can you give some words of wisdom that you've learned along the way? And I tell you, I have been just saturated with so many words of wisdom where it has actually helped me personally. I've gotten things where I'm by nature I'm a perfectionist. You know, I'm very hard on myself, and nothing I ever feel like I do is good enough. There always has to be this other tweak. And I think that I haven't gotten there yet, but all of this advice that I'm getting is helping me to get comfortable with my own uniqueness.
And it sounds to me like you're passing the information on to others as well.
Yeah.
Which is great. You're not waiting to get old to do that.
Yeah. Not trying to be, you know, one of the overall things I can say that whether they were independent artists or celebrity figures that have told me is basically be okay with being who you are. Be okay with your own artistry. Because I obsess over this, you know, putting out the best representation of myself, you know, writing this best song. The production has to be, and I listen to other people like, wow, my production, or, you know, and, or maybe it doesn't sound like that's okay. It's okay to be unique. It's okay to be different. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay if I want to do this and everybody else is not sounding like this in their song, or if everybody's voice don't sound like mine, or if their production, it doesn't matter. That's what makes me my own unique self. Yeah, they're right. I get it. That's okay. Go for it. Be free.
One question that I really want to ask you is, you do so many things. Most people can't do two things. Most people can't even do one thing. Yeah, but you do so many things, and yet you manage to juggle everything to a point of perfection. How do you do that without causing problems for yourself?
Oh boy, I have lots of problems for myself up here.
Okay, but you just
You
don't
know.
show the world.
Those who know me know.
Okay.
No, well, what I'm saying is my brain is constantly like this. I'm walking and my brain is like this, and I won't, I get tired and I get worn, but I won't let myself quit. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to say I'm
We're
done.
not quitters.
No, we're not quitters.
We're not
I'm not.
quitters.
I'll never wave that right flag. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I might delay a little bit. That's even hard. But I might delay a little bit, but never will I quit.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Never will I quit.
Yeah.
But have you got any final words before we finish?
Yes. I want to tell people, I'm not going to just say young people, I will say all people, because I am an artist. I want to speak to artists. Don't compromise. Do not compromise your soul for fame or fortune. It is not worth it. Don't do it. Be authentic. Be you. Women, don't feel like you have to take your clothes off to let your voice, let your talent speak for itself. And by all means, be kind. Be kind to one another. Love one another. And I think that's what I would have to say. Love people. Love one another. Be kind to people. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
You can find me. You can go to GinaSedman.com. That's SEDMAN. Some people refer to me as Stedman. It's the same person. But no, it's Sedman, Sedman. But if you hear Gina Sedman, that's also me. But you can just go on my website and then find out about
That's
different
confusing.
things. Yeah, I know. But but no, I've heard people announce my name or on the radio. They'll say Gina Sedman. So I have to tell people it's the same person. But my name is Gina Sedman, GinaSedman.com, and you can find out anything from there.
So guys, there we go, Gina Sedman. A person with so many more talents that we haven't even discussed because there wasn't enough time, right? But if you want to go and check her out on the website. You can also follow her on her Instagram, her Facebook, all those places. There's a lot. If you're into interviews, go and find some of your heroes being interviewed by her, but also a lot of unknowns, similar to what we do on the channel here. Just trying to bring awareness to people that deserve the awareness. That's what she's doing. With the filmmaking, the artistry, the music and everything, everything's worth checking. Please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. And again, thank you for watching. Gina, thank you very much
It's
for
my
being
pleasure.
here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
All right.